Now, Laura Nicole asks, what are your views on fashion? And okay, the way that I would answer this is first, I think, not that the question is bad, but just so that I think it's a really good question and it's a question that I really like, or I'm happy to answer. But I'm going to rephrase it to make it a little bit easier for me to answer. So instead of what are my views on fashion, what are my attitudes toward my own fashion? And quite basically, I would say that any aspect of my life that I can enjoy, whether it's companions like pins or Mishka or food or friends or my furniture, if I can enjoy them, I would really like to enjoy them and select things so that I can enjoy them. So, clothing, since I'm wearing it all day, is no exception. And there are many things that I'm thinking about when it comes to clothing. Perhaps the first category of things might be the aesthetics. I like clothes that are pretty. Maybe you think that this jacket is not pretty or it's gaudy or something, but I really like the way that it looks. I really like the blue color. I like the paint. I like that to me, it's an interesting and a unique garment. I also, I guess, feel is important. And I don't care so much about comfort. This is a dispute I'm often in with my friends. I think comfort is overrated. Comfort is for babies. Maybe this goes back to my rucking, but I do care very much about how fabrics feel and their construction. So I like garments that feel very sturdy and high quality. I'm also very interested in the story of a garment. So I'm quite interested in who constructed it, how it was constructed, the equipment that went into constructing it, the materials that went into constructing it, the people who constructed it. I'm also interested in what the brand or the person might stand for, the history of the type of garment itself. Maybe some examples would be useful. I'm looking at my closet right now. One jacket that I have is a Japanese made reproduction of a World War II bomber jacket. I like that this company is known for their attention to detail in reproductions. So they sourced a bunch of these original jackets. They made their own threads to emulate as perfectly as possible the threads in the original jacket. They purchased dead stock Talon zippers, so zippers that went into making the original jackets 70 years ago. They then, built the jackets to the exact specifications. And I don't know, this is just the sort of thing that I geek out on. I would say that I'm not particularly interested in trends, though maybe something new will emerge that I find attractive or interesting. And I'm also, I guess this goes back to the physicality question. I am very concerned. Maybe this is something that some listeners will think I should be ashamed of, but it's just a fact that I am very concerned with my own appearance. That's not to say that I'm obsessed with, well, maybe I am in some ways obsessed with my appearance, but I don't love my appearance. But I do think about it a lot because I think that, how I look or how I see myself, I have body image issues. It's very important to my sense of self confidence, but how others see me, whether with regard to dating or just friends. I mean, how you dress, how you look, it says a lot about who you are, because whether we think it's appropriate or not, we do judge people. We judge books by their covers because we don't often have the time to get to know somebody before we make decisions about whether or not they're worth getting to know or interesting or what have you. And then there are also just facts that, I mean, men with more square jaws are more likely to be voted into a position of political power. This isn't a comment about my own jaw. It's just to illustrate that human psychology works in such a way that we're very much attuned to how people look. So I just think that these are things worth thinking about and keeping in mind. Laura Nicole's second question is, which styles do I like or dislike? And on other people, I don't really think I care too much about what styles they're wearing so long as it looks good on them. But for me, I tend toward garments with both history and utility. So I like military garments. I like workwear type garments, neither of which, I guess this is probably more of a fashiony garment, but I also like very durable things. You also asked who are my fashion idols, if I have any. The two people that come to mind when you ask this question are Kanye West. Not that I would ever dress the way that he dresses, though maybe I would in some cases, but I do think of him as the consummate artist, and he is always wearing very interesting and provocative things. The next person that comes to mind is Jacob Elordi, and it's not so much that he's a fashion idol, but I'm 5'10". He is, I think, like 6'5" or 6 foot. I don't know. He's a very tall person, and I'm very jealous of the clothes that he gets to wear. I find that I have to wear clothes that are relatively well fitting, but he gets to wear these very elegant, loose, long, drapey things, which, I mean, he always looks very good and very cool in them. The next question is, how have these views and your overall sense of style evolved over time? My interests in clothes and fashion started in early high school. They definitely stemmed from insecurity, and then so insecurity about my appearance and feeling like the girls I liked didn't like me, and then a desire to fit in and be cool. And then I was also extraordinarily stressed out my, let's say, my freshman year of high school, which is when I first started thinking about clothing. So it was also a form of escapism. If I could spend a couple of hours reading blogs about clothing, it would distract me from the other issues that were going on in my life. Eventually, though, this became super obsessive. So I would buy lots of really expensive, cool clothing that I was then way too neurotic and self conscious to wear. And I was spending so much time reading about clothes that it became overwhelming. So, as I mentioned a little earlier, I adopted an all black uniform for 8 years where I wore the same black t-shirt, the same, well, I had multiple of these, but same black pants, same black t-shirt, same black shoes every single day. And I only stopped doing this, I think maybe really just before I started the podcast. And so when I started the podcast, I really just bought a bunch of Uniqlo staples basically, and have since been figuring out my wardrobe and have gradually donated those initial Uniqlo garments and replaced them with garments that I love. But the general arc has been learning a lot, or it started with knowing nothing, then it became learning a lot about materials and construction and developing an understanding of the brand and manufacturing landscape and coming to understand what looks good on me with regard to colors and fit. Fit is most important, and then that's where I am now. I don't think that I'm a particularly creative or interesting dresser or anything like that.